looking for Paul. I'm going to go ahead and read the scripture from these words from 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through 15. Hear these words. But do not ignore this one fact, beloved, that with the Lord 1 day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like 1 day. The Lord is not slow about his promise, as some think of slowness, but is patient with you, not wanting any to perish, but all to come to repentance. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a loud noise, and the elements will dissolve with fire, and the earth and everything that is done on it will be disclosed. Since all these things are to be dissolved in this way, what sort of persons ought you to be in leading lives of holiness and godliness, waiting for and hastening the coming of the day of God, because of which the heavens will be set ablaze and dissolved, and the elements will melt with all the fire? But in accordance with his promise, we wait for the new heavens and a new earth, where righteousness is at home. Therefore, beloved, while you're waiting for these things, strive to be found by him at peace, without spot or blemish, and regard with the patience of our Lord as salvation. These are the words for the people of God. Thanks be to God. I want to try to reflect here on these words, because we know that Advent is all about waiting for something to come, for something to be a part of our lives.
All right.
Excuse me.
Gotta watch. Oh, man. Am I early?
Well, no, this is really just perfect time, Mr. Grinch. We're glad that you could be a part of it, but I think you were supposed to be here at 3, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's what my manager said. He said 3 o'clock, but you know what it is? The time difference between Whoville and here has got me all discombobulated, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, I apologize. Y'all are obviously having a wonderful little gathering. Oh, look at this tree. This is so nice. I'm sorry. I tell you what, you're doing your thing up there, big man. I'm just gonna come right here and I'm gonna sit. You're not even gonna notice me. I apologize. I'm gonna button it up. Rock and roll, buddy.
Hey, well, it's no problem. I mean, usually during this time we have a sermon, but you know, since you're a public speaker and all, and we expect you at 3, you think you could say some words about some words?
What do you mean, like 3?
Well, there's a guy that stands up here normally who does that on a regular basis, but since you're here and he's not, why don't you come and be a part of it?
Look, hold on. Now, preaching, that's more of a form of communication that's more elevated and elegant, electric yet eloquent, more so than I'm ordinarily used to employing. So I just don't know if I can do that sort of thing.
Now, folks, wouldn't you like to hear the Grinch speak than to hear me? So come on up here.
Okay, if you think I can do it,
sure.
I'll give it a shot.
Since you're a public speaker and all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, well, yeah, thank you. I'm Grinch. What's your name?
Craig.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Chris. It's great to meet you. Wow. Okay, looks like I'm going to preaching. You know, it's kind of funny. I always wondered how well that really works, preaching. Don't tell the guy that's normally up here who does this. I don't want to hurt his feelings or anything, but I've always been a little suspicious. I mean, yeah, okay. I'm sure it probably makes a difference to a degree. You've all probably heard Claude, what do you call these things? Rants, raves, what's this called when you do up here? Sermon, thank you. Yeah, you probably all heard a sermon or two that's been impactful for your life, right? That's made a little bit of difference, but, has just preaching, words spoken from on high, has that ever changed the trajectory of anybody's life? Has the sole act of preaching ever shifted somebody's story? I don't know. It's funny, being a new who of sorts, I've been going to therapy. Been doing some inside work. And my, what do you call those folks? Shrunk, counselor. That's what it is. My counselor has been encouraging me to dig deep and look back in the past and figure out, where I came from and what made me me. So I've been doing that. I ordered one of those genealogy kits, where you spit on a stick and you mail it off, and 6 weeks later it comes back. They let you know what tribe you're a part of 10 billion years ago. It's pretty neat, if you're into that sort of thing. I learned some cool stuff. I'm actually second cousin, get this, to Oscar the Grouch. And I see you're thinking about it, and you're like, well, that makes sense. Of course it does. We are both from the same genus of fuzzy olive anthropomorphic curmudgeons. We connect on that line. The scientific name is green shag carpetus. That's us. And he lives on Sesame Street, and I hope to visit while I'm over here. So if anybody can show me how to get there, that'd be nice. Okay, anyway, the whole process has helped me to, again, learn more about who I am, and I traced myself all the way back to my creator. This guy named See Us, which is really cool, because See Us, he really had this way of seeing us. What's that? Seuss, you say? Well, that really steps all over that point. Thank you, Carlos. Anyway, Seuss, did I say it right? Okay, thank you. Seuss, he was a doctor, PhD, got it in something, probably rhyming, because this guy was brilliant. He wrote some real blockbusters. Cat in the Hat. Nobody had figured that out before him, all right? Cat, hat, hop on pop, Yertle, the turtle. You're gonna love this one. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. Yeah, who said three fish? Open a book. Good gracious. This is like Shakespearean level stuff where I come from, really complex. So Seuss, he had this idea for a Christmas story. And he said, I want to write about this Scrooge type who just really isn't a fan of the whole Christmas season. And apparently, the story came to him pretty quickly. He actually said, and this is a quote, you can check it out on the interwebs, that it was the easiest book of his career to write. How about that? Except, he said, for its conclusion. Yeah. See, Doc knew the first part. He knew where he wanted to start, and he knew about me snapping and going all loco and stealing Christmas from all the Who girls and boys with their noise, right? He knew that he wanted that in there, and then he kind of knew the last part too. He knew that he wanted me to change, right? Make this turn from a fuddy-duddy to a cuddly buddy, right? But he didn't know how to get there. How to, pull the Dr. Jekyll back out of Mr. Hyde. Or the Gollum out of Smeagol, or the Bruce Banner out of Hulk, who also a relation, right? He got the muscles in the family, and I got this. What are you going to do? So, Seuss was stumped Again, I quote, he said, I got hung up on how to get the Grinch out of this mess. I got into a situation where I was writing out the change, and I sounded like a second-rate preacher or some Bible thumper. Now, how do you like that? He knew that he wanted a change to happen and that I needed to be made better, but he couldn't just write that change out. It sounded too much like preaching to him. He couldn't just say, then the Grinch realized that being bad is bad, but being good is good. And the Grinch said, I want to be good and not bad. He couldn't do that. One, because that doesn't rhyme. That's not his style. But two, he knew that life doesn't work that way. You don't just write somebody, preach somebody into change with fancy words. So what did Dr. C.S. do? Well, he drew it out. He illustrated on paper the ending that he wanted to have. He envisioned this change, and then he saw the transformation. After that, well, describing it was easy. Again, I quote, finally, in desperation, without making any statement whatsoever, I showed the Grinch and the Who's together at the table and made a pun on the Grinch carving roast beast. I had gone through thousands of religious-sounding choices, and then, after 3 months, it came out like that, showing it, seeing it first. So what does that mean? Well, not to make a sermon out of it, but I think one message might be that you can't preach anybody into change. You can't write or reason anyone to it. People have to see it first. That's been my experience. Nobody preached me into change. Nobody used words to persuade me or scare me into being something different. I mean, look, no offense to two of my most famous contemporaries. I love these guys. They're good buddies, Ebenezer Scrooge and George Bailey, who, if I'm not careful, I kind of start to sound like. But I didn't turn things around because of what my future might be like if I didn't. Or for, because of what the world might be like if I never were. I did it because I saw an ending that I wanted, and I chose to make the change. And look, I'm your guest. Again, I just barged in. You don't know me from Adam. I don't mean any offense here to you church folks, but maybe there's a lesson in there that you can grab onto. Because, look, I hear a lot of religious type folks moaning and groaning these days about how people aren't coming to church anymore. And fewer and fewer people are saying that faith is important in their lives. Wow, wow, wow. I hear that, and I don't hear fewer and fewer people are saying that faith is important. What I hear is more and more people of faith are failing to show that their belief makes any sort of difference. More and more people of faith are failing to demonstrate to the world that what they claim to have is even worth having, that it leads to any sort of compelling story. Oh, they'll preach about it. They'll explain it to you. They'll, put your whole world out on paper like it's a math problem with a simple solution. Your troubles plus Jesus equals rainbows and warm cookies forever in eternity, right? But if your life doesn't show them there's something different about you, if the way you live, the way you
handle adversity, the way that you speak, the way that you relate to other people and things, the way that you handle so many of the horrible things that this world can give you, if the way that you hope doesn't draw for them a scene that registers deep in their soul as something worth having, something worth changing for, then it's just preaching. It's just words spoken that float off into Forgetsville as soon as you leave the sanctuary, because there was nothing to anchor that statement to the page, no picture to hold it down. You know, it's funny. If you go back and you read my story, and notice what I said there, read my story. I know a lot of you are like, oh, we know the Grinch, but you're talking about the movies, okay? And look, love the movies. My bank account is doing just fine thanks to those movies. That's why I can come here and do things like this with you little people. But a lot of the stuff in those movies just never happened. Like when Jim Carrey, when they put that crazy sweater on him, you remember that? Yeah, I would not be caught dead wearing that sweater. Now look, give credit where it's due. From the neck up, they nailed me. I mean, but the costuming was terrible. Or the recent animated one with the Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch or whatever, doing my voice. I don't sound like that guy's English. I don't sound like that. And Ron Howard's the song. You remember the song? Faith Hill. Where are you, Christmas? Why can't I find you? Stick needles in my ears, man. That's just, again, never happened. And I'll tell you right now, that was just to sell tickets. You know, and I love Faith and I love Tim. They're dear friends, went to their wedding. But it was just to put butts in seats. Oh, can I say butts? Okay. I'm just a guest. You can't get me in trouble if I'm not supposed to say it. Or the guy that's normally here. Okay. So, sorry, I got a little sidetracked. The point is, there's a lot of non-canonical stuff out there. But go back to the original text, and I know you Baptists are all about the original text. Go back to it, and you will find that not one who ever preached to me. Go ahead. You can look back. In fact, I'll give you one more. Not one who ever even spoke to me. I see you, and your little wheels are turning, and you're thinking about that book, and then you're thinking, aha, Mr. Grinch, what about Cindy Lou? Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking my Christmas tree? Why? Remember that part? That doesn't count. One, because that was a question, okay? Question ain't preaching. Two, she thought she was talking to Santa Claus, okay? So, you know, I was in disguise. And three, she's like that big, so she doesn't really matter. Point is, know who preached to me. Know who tried to convince me or argue me or scare me into change. Heck, look at that book. They didn't even notice me. They just lived who they were, and then I saw something in that all on my own. Because if it's real, you can't hide it. And on the flip side, if it ain't real, you can't fake it. You can say the words, you can go through the motions, but you can't talk or ritualize yourself into authenticity. Like just walking into a church automatically makes a person's heart grow 3 sizes. If that were so, then this truly would be an historic occasion, because it'd be the first time ever that a Grinch sat through a Sunday service. But I think you all are a little smarter than to think that. Beloved, wait, what? That's not one of my words. What's happening to me? I kind of like it, beloved. Yeah, beloved, you better believe there are all sorts of Grinches sitting in all sorts of churches this morning who know all sorts of words words about your Christian story, but who have no clue about the type of life that it promises. They can't give the world that picture. And they, bless their hearts, Grinchy moaners and groaners, are a big reason that there aren't more folks around them in those pews. There's no life in them, no intrigue, no joy, no fahu, fores, dahu, dores. What's that mean? I don't know, but I want to find out. You know, that's why the Who's are called the Who's, you know? Because there's just something about them that makes you ask questions. Who are they? Why are they that way? What do they have? How can I get some? Yeah, they're not just words, you know. They're words wrapped in skin, and it just, it sucks you in. You know, give or take a couple pounds of green fur and apparently widely divergent opinions on the etiquette of wearing pants, we're not really that different, you and me. Because you've got a creator who wants a good story for the little critters he made. Right before I came in here, I heard that little passage you read about the Creator and who truly sees us. How he didn't want his creations to perish. It said that. He wants a good ending for everyone. He wants them to change if they're on a rotten, grinchy path. And if memory serves, isn't this season you're celebrating about how that Creator did exactly that? Not with a sermon. I mean, he had those. He had words. But at the end of the day, he knew that just the words weren't enough. That the words had to be made flesh, wrapped in skin, in this person who would grow to live an intoxicatingly compelling life, embodying the faith that he professed, showing exactly what he was telling. And all I can do is quote him, I guess, and say, go and do likewise. So, to answer your question, Cleo, no. Sorry, I can't preach this morning. Because, you know, I'm a who. And preaching's not what who's do. You know, we're more about living and making people say, ooh, what's that they've got? What's going on in their plot? What's making them glow like they're 10 million watts? See, that's where it all starts. That's what the key's in. Your life always shines brighter than logic or reason. Because it's not reason, it's rhyme. That's why who's rhyme all the time. We've got something inside that just makes life sublime. And you can't just use words if you're living sublimely. To tell but not show, I mean, that's just a crime league. Well, make up words if you must, but with no demonstration, and you're just a boring old book with no illustration. And who wants to read that? I'm sorry, not me. Don't just say what you got, man. I want to see. So let your life be your message. Use your hands, feet, arms, legs. Give me 5 if you feel me. What's your name? Craig. That's right. Yeah, wrap some skin on your faith, like a warm sweater, wool knit, and then you'll be preaching with the whole world your pulpit. Doesn't matter your name, Craig, Sally, or Sherman. Doesn't matter your language, English, who, German. Live a life that's compelling. And friends,
That there is your sermon. How do you normally end these things? We're, where I come from, we normally just rhyme. So Craig, I got to be on my way, so y'all can beat the Methodists to the buffet. As for myself, I've got somewhere to be. But if you'd like to chat later, I'm in that big room at 3. Okay?
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. Let us stand as we sing.